Welcome to episode 105 of the Brainy Business, Understanding the Psychology of Why People Buy. Today's episode is about subscription models and membership programs. Ready? Let's get started.
You are listening to the Brainy Business Podcast, where we dig into the psychology of why people buy and help you incorporate behavioral economics into your business, making it more brain-friendly. Now here's your host, Melina Palmer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melina Palmer, and I want to welcome you to the Brainy Business Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about subscription models and membership groups. I've been thinking about an episode on this for a long time, and in fact, one of my clients, Kadra, the founder of Paper, Scissors, Paint, a children's art studio in Edmonton, asked me about this over a year ago. It's crazy how time flies, and it just wasn't quite the right time yet. As many of you know, if you've been listening and following the Brainy Business for a while, I launched my own membership group at the beginning of 2020. The Be Thoughtful Revolution membership group launched just a few weeks before COVID resulted in closures of businesses around the world. In many ways, I launched at the perfect time without knowing it. But it isn't too late for any of you who've been thinking about setting up a membership group or a subscription model for your business. As I've been talking about for weeks on the show, the environment is going to be changing constantly over the coming months and possibly years as we all adjust to the impact of coronavirus. Are people ever going to go to the movies again? Will people go out like they did before? What will happen to conferences and those of us who built a business on public speaking? Will grocery stores be a thing of the past and we're all going to have a warehouse online ordering model in the future? Do financial institutions need physical locations? What can thrive online and what needs to go away? Unfortunately, I won't be answering those questions all for you in today's episode, as none of us know exactly what will happen in the future, but they are the types of conversations that I'm having with my clients and with others in behavioral science from around the world. And what we can do is take a look at our own businesses and industries to determine how to reinvigorate the offerings that we're putting out there and provide them in a way people want to do business with us instead of what was convenient to set up in the past. The thing is, while many of these adjustments have been difficult on the businesses needing to make them and happened much faster than any of them would have liked, most of the experiences are actually preferred by and better for the people using those products and services. I mean, if you could get all your groceries delivered to you or for an easy, quick pickup, why would you want to waste time in the store? If you could have restaurant quality meals that you didn't have to cook with everything you love, say including the drinks, and you didn't need to drive home because you're already there, would you choose that over going out to eat all the time? Now that you've gotten accustomed to seeing your face in all those video meetings, do you really miss being in the office every day? Or could you get used to having some days working at home and only being in the office for really important meetings that need to happen face to face? Yes, there are social aspects to everything as well, and many of us, myself included, miss being able to get out of the house, see family and friends, and engage with others. And like I said, I'm there too, but are the times we're aching for shopping in a grocery store? Probably not. And in case you're wondering what all this has to do with subscriptions and memberships, while I am good at getting off on little tangents, I promise this one is intentional. You see, at the center of any really strong business model, subscriptions and membership groups included, it's finding the experience people want, the biggest benefit to them, and showcasing the value in a way that makes it easy for them to say yes. Even if you're thinking about creating a subscription or membership now because you think it will benefit your business, and that's okay. Businesses do need to think about how they're going to make money. But even if that is the beginning of looking at the new model, a solid customer experience has to come first in the design and final decision. You need to think of the people you're creating this for, what they want, and what they're going to be excited to pay for. One person who was a total master at this, though it isn't necessarily discussed enough, is Henry Ford. I'm linking to a fantastic article from the Harvard Business Review called Marketing Myopia. The original publication was from back in 1960, but it was so profound it has stood the test of time, and it is incredibly poignant in these times and specifically to this conversation about subscriptions and memberships. It's all about understanding what your business is about and how to change with the times, and how many mission statements are not set up for changes in the status quo. Before getting to the Henry Ford story, I want to elaborate on another key piece from this article that has stuck with me since I first heard about it back during my undergrad. Theodore Levitt, the author, positioned the question of what business are you really in? Being inside a business or industry, it's far too easy to get hung up on the specifics of what you do or offer, a myopic view, so that you lose the big picture and in many ways don't see how you're becoming obsolete. The example he gives here is of the buggy whip industry. As he says in the article, with cars being more accessible thanks to Henry Ford and the story I'm going to share in a minute, there was no need for buggy whips anymore. People don't need a horse and buggy when they can get an automobile for the same price. It can't be innovated enough to make any difference. The product will die off. But does the company who makes those buggy whips need to go extinct along with this product? In the way they were set up, yes. When the mission of the company is to make the best buggy whips ever, when no one wants that product anymore, there's no way you can innovate to be useful. If instead they would have taken a larger view of what they really did, what they were truly about, the business they were in, what did they provide people with? Did they care about buggy whips specifically, or did they want an ability to get efficiently from one place to another? It is, of course, the latter. And if the company's mission had been, we make things go, or we help people get quickly and safely from place to place, they could have had a different view of their business and changed with the times before it was too late. They could have made the shift to automobiles or something else that helps people get from place to place instead of going down with their product ship. I remember my professor telling us about this article and saying, people don't want a drill. They want a hole. Such a simple shift, but it completely changed my brain and approach to business in that moment. If you're always trying to make a better drill, you may not see how someone else is setting up a way to make a better hole and serving your customers better. Marketing Myopia is a fantastic article, and I've linked to the PDF for you in the show notes, which you can find within the app you're listening to or at thebrainybusiness.com/105. That page will also have links to anything else I reference throughout the show. There are going to be lots and lots of articles and episodes that can help give greater context to this episode you're listening to. If you're already on the Brainy Business email list, you got a direct link in the show notes and a link to the super secret subscribers page of the website with more than 50 freebies and worksheets, all in the email you receive from me every Friday, including when this episode came out. If you're not yet on the list and would like to be, simply sign up for any freebie, including the Master Your Mindset mini course, and you'll be automatically added. Those in the States can sign up easily by texting the word Brainy, BRAINY, to 33777. You'll be automatically added to the list and get a free copy of my ebook as a thank you. And now, let me finally tell you the story about Henry Ford. I'm going to read this section directly from the article because it's just perfect. Honestly, I could do an episode just reading this whole article to you because every tidbit is so incredibly valuable, but I'll hold back the urge to do that. This section is called What Ford Puts First, and it reads, "The profit lure of mass production obviously has a place in the plans and strategy of business management, but it must always follow hard thinking about the customer. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn from the contradictory behavior of Henry Ford. In a sense, Ford was both the most brilliant and the most senseless marketer in American history. He was senseless because he refused to give the customer anything but a black car. He was brilliant because he fashioned a production system designed to fit market needs. We habitually celebrate him for the wrong reason, for his production genius. His real genius was marketing. We think he was able to cut his selling price and therefore sell millions of $500 cars because his invention of the assembly line had reduced the costs. Actually, he invented the assembly line because he had concluded that at $500 he could sell millions of cars. Mass production was the result, not the cause, of his low prices. Ford emphasized this point repeatedly, but a nation of production-oriented business managers refuses to hear the great lesson he taught. Here is his operating philosophy as he expressed it succinctly. Our policy is to reduce the price, extend the operations, and improve the article. You will notice that the reduction of price comes first. We've never considered any costs as fixed. Therefore, we first reduce the price to the point where we believe more sales will result. Then we go ahead and try to make the prices. We do not bother about the costs. The new price forces the costs down. The more usual way is to take the costs and then determine the price. And although that method may be scientific in the narrow sense, it is not scientific in the broad sense. Because what earthly use is it to know the cost if it tells you that you cannot manufacture at a price at which the article can be sold? But more to the point is the fact that, although one may calculate what a cost is, and of course all of our costs are carefully calculated, no one knows what a cost ought to be. One of the ways of discovering is to name a price so low as to force everybody in the place to the highest point of efficiency. The low price makes everybody dig for profits. We make more discoveries concerning manufacturing and selling under this forced method than by any method of leisurely investigation. Ford put customers first. He found a price where the masses could buy a car and then figured out how to build a business to make it happen. I'm sure everyone said it couldn't be done, but he proved them wrong. Just because others have a narrow view of your business or industry doesn't mean you need to or should. This mindset shift is important when you consider how you're going to shift your business model now. And know that it could mean discovering that a subscription or membership is not a fit for your business. When Netflix hit the scene, it was disruptive by offering a subscription model for something everyone thought was as good as it could be. Since Netflix, that model has taken off in a big way, and it's now much more of a norm. So much that it may be a default choice for many. Don't feel that you need to force your business to meet a subscription if it just isn't right for your customers and where they would find value. As you listen to this episode and think about your model for your business, I want you to be open-minded and think about the experience you can offer. I want to start now with some of my general thoughts on these models and the behavioral concepts at play behind them. Remember, there are links to all those connected episodes within the show notes. In preparation for this episode, I did posts on my social media channels and was pleasantly overwhelmed by the volume of questions that came in. Across Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, I asked the simple question, subscriptions and memberships, what do you want to know? And there were so many responses. So after I give my lay of the land, I'm going to do a bit of a Q&A with your real questions. If you're not already following the Brainy Business on the socials, which gives you a chance to share your questions and episode ideas, now is a great time to go subscribe, like, and follow. You can find me as The Brainy Biz on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On LinkedIn and YouTube, you can follow The Brainy Business, and please do send a connection request to me, Melina Palmer, on LinkedIn as well. Now, the high-level stuff about subscriptions and membership groups, which does weave in some of the questions as well, and then we'll get into some of the more specific questions. The first thing I want to talk about is the model itself and what you should think about from the business's perspective. As I've already said, thinking about customer experience is always a great place to start. You want to make sure you're building something people will buy and can afford. And it's important to know that asking them if they want a subscription and or what they would pay for is not likely to get you the answers you would need to move forward. As you know from this podcast, people are irrational and don't often do what they think they will or should. As Howard Schultz famously said, if I had asked people if they would pay $4 for a coffee, do you think they would have said yes? Of course not. But Starbucks obviously proved that wrong. So this is where behavioral science helps you get into the brain of your customer and consider what they will actually do and what gets them excited. For anyone who's looking at a subscription or membership group with the passive income model in mind, I want to tell you right now that it's never that easy. A combination of availability bias and optimism bias lead us to see the few people that are totally smashing through barriers and making it look like they make millions every month doing 1 hour a week to maintain their groups and models. And you think, that sounds great. Sure it does. And that would be awesome. But in reality, any business model takes work to create value and be something people want. There is hustle in the setup of anything. And if you aren't willing or able to put in the work up front to build something people will want and get great value out of, it probably isn't worth doing. I'm doing an episode about starting a podcast in a couple weeks, and it's the same thing. People are constantly looking for the magic pill that gets you from point A to the end of the rainbow with little to no effort. We all do this, mind you, and I'm not excluding myself from this. I've been working on growing my social media following in prep for an upcoming book launch and to increase the reach of the podcast, and I constantly find myself looking for ways to quickly and easily add masses of followers on social media, but the thing is, if I just wanted the numbers, I could buy followers, but it's not about that. I want to attract people who want to learn about behavioral economics, people who want to grow and build their businesses and engage with what I put out there, people who want to be part of the Brainy business family. And that takes time and effort. I recently did a talk about starting a podcast, which, like I said, solidified my plan to do an episode on this. And when I explained how long it takes me to do my episodes and social content and all that, and it is a lot, I got that question I always get of, yeah, but does it have to? I mean, couldn't I just... Whatever the end of that sentence is, the answer is sure. Anyone can have a podcast. You can record into your phone and post with no editing and have a show. But if you want it to be successful and build a business around it, you need to be willing to put in the time to build it and have it thrive. Same with those subscriptions and membership groups. The model seems appealing because it has a one-to-many offering, and you can do one thing and have everyone get the benefit. When you reach a critical mass, it's awesome. And when the model is built out right, it's a fantastic option for everyone involved. But it takes work to get there. When you're deciding if this is the right fit for you, it's important to think through what you will be offering and how it compares to what you do now. Before I walk you through an example, I want to do a quick definition of how I'm talking about subscriptions and what they are and how they're different from memberships. And a question I had gotten in the Be Thoughtful Revolution was about how memberships differ from retainers, so I'm going to touch on that as well. A subscription is something that people pay for on an ongoing basis, and they get access to a product or service. In general, a subscription gets you significantly discounted pricing, and it sets up a benefit for both you and the company. You guarantee that you will receive the thing you want, and they know how many to make because they have a guaranteed minimum income stream coming in that can be a baseline. The original subscription model we all look at would be magazines. You sign up for a magazine for a very low introductory rate and are going to continue to receive it every month until it's time to renew, and the price you pay to be a subscriber is way, way less than if you bought a magazine off the rack. I like Real Simple magazine, which is generally $3.99 if you buy it one-off in a store. It comes out once a month, and if I was going to buy them one at a time, it would cost me nearly $50. Plus, I need to constantly check to see if the new one's available and be thinking about it when I'm in the store. And because we expect error, which was the E in nudges, I'm likely to mess up and miss some and potentially talk myself out of buying them regularly, which the company doesn't want. So instead, if I buy them in advance, my subscription might be half the price. And I think it's often less than that, as little as $12.99 to pay for a full year of the magazine, conveniently showing up at my door every month. It's the same exact content that I would get if I picked a copy off the shelf, but I get it consistently at a significant discount and don't have to think about it. Reading the magazine regularly has become a habit, and it's part of my identity. So when the reminder to subscribe comes each year or two, my loss aversion is triggered. I don't want to miss out on the content and the deal they're offering. And it's a great deal, so I re-up. Another model for subscriptions that has become very popular is the free version and paid version models. I'm listening to Pandora right now while working on this episode, and they have lots of ads in the free version. So they make money on the ad revenue if I don't pay for the subscription. Every couple of ads that come up is something asking me if I want to take advantage of a free trial of Pandora Premium, which removes the ads. And if you realize you like this no ad thing, you can keep that for just $5 a month. As a note, to incorporate priming and framing into that message, I would recommend they change the language of that to say, when you realize you love this no ad thing. Changing if to when is a very subtle shift, but it helps put someone in the mindset of buying and gets those mirror neurons working. It's a good thing to use. So, that's another option for the subscription that's very much like the magazines. They make money on ads from the free signups, and for those who pay up to remove the ads, they make money as well. And that's something they have as mostly guaranteed income planning, so it provides some stability. It's a good balanced model. The difference with a membership model is that you're typically paying for the right to have access to things, but you don't necessarily have to take advantage of everything included, and the business expects that many people who pay will not use their full benefits. This is the gym membership model. If someone who was a member of the gym was to use the gym all the times they could use the gym, no one would ever be able to get on any equipment and it wouldn't work. For gyms, even with trainers saying people should be in there 3 to 5 times a week and lots of amenities like steam rooms and pools and tennis courts, most people don't overcome their time discounting and optimism bias to get there very often. Funny enough, when I was 20 or so, I signed up for a prepaid deal to 24-Hour Fitness. It was a crazy good deal if you had the money up front, which I did. At the time, I was paying over $30 a month for my membership to a single location and was looking for a lower monthly fee option. They ran a deal where if you prepaid for 3 years at $24 a month, you would get an all-club membership. And I was working at an airline at the time, so it meant I could use any 24-hour fitness in any city at no extra cost for that $24 a month rate. And after the 3 years was up, the rate would only be $24 a year to keep that all-club membership forever. I jumped on the opportunity and prepaid my 3 years and had lived near a 24-hour fitness for a long time and took advantage of that deal even when I moved to a different part of the state, and it was awesome. Though even when I was taking advantage of it, I still didn't go every week or even every month for the bulk of those 15 years. I don't live near a 24-hour fitness now and haven't for a while, but I keep paying my $24 a year to keep it active just in case. Every year, I think this might be the year I cancel it, but then I think, what if? And that pre-factual thinking has kept me paying because the pain of the payment is less than the regret I would feel if I let it go. It's not much on the bottom line for 24-hour fitness, and I'm still a member, even though I haven't been to one of their locations in years. I think 2020 is the year I'm going to give it up. I'll let you know. So with a membership, you still have the benefits of a subscription type model that you can plan for payments to be coming in regularly, and the people who sign up get more for less than what they would pay for a single use or to buy all the things themselves. In the case of a gym, it would be extremely expensive to buy all the equipment and you would need space to house it all. So it's worth paying the small amount to have access to everything whenever you're ready for it. While with a subscription, you get something no matter what. The company has to create and ship me my magazine every month. A membership is where you pay to have access, whether you use it or not. The models have become somewhat synonymous these days, as many companies just like to call their offering a subscription because it's a term people understand. And in general, that's probably fine. But in my opinion, they're not exactly the same. And I'm talking about these nuanced differences when I choose to use one name instead of another. Many of the explanations and tips I'll give in this episode apply to both, but some are specific, and I'll call that out for you when it matters. Another very famous membership model is from Costco, which I talked about in episode 47. People pay to be a member of Costco, so they have the opportunity to shop there and get discounts, the perks of being a member. If you don't use it for a month or 5, you don't get it prorated back. If you only buy one thing a month, you don't pay less of a membership than someone who buys thousands of dollars worth of items every month. You're paying for the access, which you only get while you're a member. And this is where the membership group or subscription differs from a retainer model. If you're on a retainer, someone is prepaying for access to you for a certain number of hours or products or delivery items. And you can think about an attorney. People may prepay a lump sum upfront or a monthly amount to guarantee that attorney's time. The difference between that and a membership group is that a retainer isn't just guaranteeing that they could call you or have hours from you that get lost over time. If you prepay a $3,000 retainer to reserve your attorney for when you need them, you're prepaying for hours they will work for you. You get what you pay for and can access it later if you don't use it right away. And there might be an admin fee or something that gets deducted off of that over time to where eventually it could completely go away. But in general, you get the hours you pay for. The gym isn't a retainer because if you don't use the equipment, you don't get to come back and say, well, I didn't come in 3 times a week like I intended when I signed up, so I want to roll all those hours into next year and not pay until I've gotten that value. That's obviously ridiculous, and gyms couldn't operate if they were set up that way, which is why they're memberships and not retainers. And now I want to walk through some of the considerations for any business to determine if a membership or subscription is the right approach for you. As I said earlier, nearly any industry, product, or service could come up with a way to be available to clients that includes a membership or subscription, but that doesn't mean it's the right fit for everyone. For this example, let's say you're a writing coach and people pay you $200 an hour to advise them on their books or for ghostwriting, editing, and other services. And while I have a section at the end about specific questions from people, this actually really gets at the question that Julie Eshelman posted to me on LinkedIn about how you would do ongoing coaching packages with prepaid or bundled monthly sessions. So hopefully this answers your question, Julie. So for this example, at $200 an hour, not everyone is going to want to jump in for a considerable amount of time, and it could be scary for them. Maybe after years of working with people, you've found that there are certain questions and tips you answer for everyone, or that there are pieces of advice you give to everyone before working with you on a bigger project, or other tips you can provide on a one-to-many model that will not take up as much of your time. Let's say in a typical week, you can dedicate 20 hours to billable time, and the rest is selling, prospecting, and other non-billable stuff. Maybe you could add a couple more hours in a week, but it isn't really what you want to do, and you'd rather take a few key projects and have less stress from finding prospects. So getting people in at a lower price point where they can be doing some DIY in the creation process that primes them for when they are ready to hire someone for their manuscript work is all a really good idea. So you decide to set up a membership group with worksheets, checklists, accountability, and how-tos of those most common aspects to help people get to the point where they would want to hire you one-on-one. They can also have a community of other writers working at the same time. Maybe you set up writing accountability hours a couple times a week where everyone joins a Zoom meeting and works on their respective writing. Those are a thing, in case you didn't know. And you answer questions in a Facebook community, and once a month you do an hour where you answer a live Q&A. You'll need to do the upfront work to set everything up, but eventually you could hire someone to manage most of the group stuff so it doesn't take up too much of your time, which frees you up for more time at your $200 an hour rate. So the question now is what to charge. You want to think about how many people you can reasonably have in a group and where your break-even points will be. You could have the group be at a really low dollar amount, like $9.99 a month. That means you need 20 people in the group to pay for every hour of time on other projects. At $50 a month, you only need 4 subscribers to make up for each hour, but they're each harder to sell. Neither model is wrong, and the value can exist in either one. It's just part of looking at what fits your goals. One thing I do for the Be Thoughtful Revolution is give discounts on strategy sessions that are exclusive for members of the group. And that discount equals the amount someone would pay for a month of membership. I have a lot of people who are interested and not sure if they should do the group or a strategy session. And so it's nice to have the option to say, If you know you're going to want a strategy session at some point, and most people do, you can join the group now and book a session whenever you're ready. And essentially, you get a month free for every session you book for as long as you're a member. It takes the risk out and makes it an easy yes for people. Plus, they get all the value in the group. Back to our writing club membership example. It's really tempting to say, well, at $9.99 a month, I could sign up 500 people and be making $5,000 a month on memberships. Yes, that's true. But it still takes some effort to sell those, and it is important to think about what the management of the group would mean at that point. How many people would you need to hire to manage the conversations and things in the group if you have an interactive element? And on the flip side, what's the minimum where you would feel really good about the group's earnings? Do you only want to make up for the 1-hour Q&A so you would feel like it's a break even when you have 20 people in the group? What does it cost to set up the site and where the information is housed? And do you want to account for all that maintenance as well? There's also the time it takes to sell the membership group and set up and send emails and answer questions and create the initial content. So maybe you want to make up for 5 hours of your time in a month, which would be $1,000 in memberships or 100 people in the group. So now you have your goal at that number to say your initial goal is to sign up 100 people at $9.99 a month, and your ultimate goal is 500 people. Of course, you can also then look at your break-evens now and say, well, if $1,000 is my break-even, and instead of $10 a month, it was $25, I would only need 40 people to break even. And maybe there's a little extra value you can add in to make it worth that price. The maintenance and Q&A is the same once you get people in the group, so this is where finding that sweet spot is helpful. One tip, if you do set up a membership group or subscription, is to consider launching at a discounted price for a very limited time or for a certain number of initial signups to help establish a foundation of participants. Because of herding and social proof, people like to know that others have already joined and like the group. So if you're able to offer founders pricing at a discount, it can help get that ball rolling. To keep our Writers Club example going, maybe you set up the membership at a full price of $25 a month, and for the first 50 or 100 people who sign up, it's at $9.99 a month for as long as they stay a member. That can help you get critical mass, establish value of taking early action, and also help cover your minimum costs. Win, win, win. Moving on to our next example, I want to point out the importance of value. People pay for all kinds of things and are happy to do so when they know what the value is, what's in it for them. I've had some clients ask me about setting up subscription models recently and say things like, people are so used to subscriptions now, it's an easy sell. And that's true in many ways, but it's also important to make sure the value proposition is in order. For your subscription or membership to be an obvious and easy yes, you need to know what it costs someone to get the same information or items somewhere else, and what it's worth to them to get the stuff you're offering in the first place. Netflix was an easy yes because the cost of a single DVD was so high at the time it first started. It was typically $20 to buy one DVD. So to pay $10 or $15 for a monthly subscription where you can get essentially any movie for less than it costs to buy one, why would you not do that? And switching to streaming, where you didn't have to deal with the DVDs in the mail business, that's even easier and even more content that's still for one low price, especially when renting a movie from your cable company these days is $3.99. Why not just get Netflix or now Hulu or Prime Video or Disney Plus or HBO or Vudu? There are so many, and they offer different things, so many of us now have multiple streaming platforms to get all the content we could possibly want, and much more. With all of them, the value proposition is clear because there's an established other option that's more expensive. In your market, there may be an established value point. In the case of the Writers Club, the person setting that up is able to say, it's $200 per hour to hire me directly, and I have a group for only $25 a month, where people can do this pre-work on their own, along with a community of others, and it tends to cut the number of hours you would hire me for down by 10, so it saves you $2,000 to do the work in the group first. That is an easy value proposition. $25 a month is a bargain compared to the $2,000 in one-on-one stuff for those who are on a budget. There are many people who will say, no thanks, I'd rather pay you. And that's great. They can self-select and find that value point, and you've made the choice easy on them. If you're in a place that isn't as established, you need to know what the relativity points are. And I've linked to the episodes on relativity and anchoring in the show notes, along with a whole bunch of other episodes. If you don't consider and establish the comparison point and point it out with the proper high anchor, your selling conversations will be a lot more difficult. Back to the writing group. If you were to say, I know you can do a lot of this stuff on your own and it'll take time. I can save you a few hours a month by joining the group. It's just $25. How much of your time is that worth to you? It feels so much more meh than the previous example, right? In that case, the anchor is zero, what I'm paying to do work myself, and relative to paying you $25 to continue to do work myself, doesn't sound like a great deal. I'm not so interested, and it's a hard sale. And this is where you then feel the need to bargain and convince yourself that no one will ever pay you more than $9.99 because maybe that has even been a tough sell for you. Here's the other approach again for immediate context. Someone is writing a book, and they call to see how much your services are to help them in that process. And you say, there are a couple of options to choose from, and on average, aspiring authors hire me to help clarify their voice, vision, outline, and get a final manuscript ready for publication. I can also help with pitches to agents if you want to go the traditional route and have some great contacts to connect the right people to. For those who want to hire me to do the bulk of the work for them and guide through the process, it's typically $7,500 to get that done. If you're more of a DIY person and want to take on more of the work yourself, I've created a thriving community of writers who are working on projects with common advice I give throughout the process. People save $2,000 on average by joining the group and taking advantage of the resources I've created there. And it's only $25 a month. Does that sound like a fit for you? Now, $25 seems like a bargain, where $9.99 was a tough sell in the previous example. Framing, anchoring, relativity, and knowing your value are very important in the way you communicate any opportunity. Subscriptions and memberships are no exception. And now that I've walked through the overarching behavioral science concepts behind subscriptions and membership groups and the way to think about them, I want to get to all your questions. As I said, I wove some throughout that beginning section, like what type of businesses are best for offering memberships and subscriptions, and which types of businesses should not offer them, and the question about retainers versus memberships as well. And now here are some of the other questions I got from listeners across my social channels. Again, you can always find me as the Brainy Biz. On LinkedIn, Thomas Mifsud from Square in the Round in Australia said, I'd love to know how to create value within the subscription to drive sign up. Also, what role does the sign up process play in conversion? So first, the sign-up process, you just want to reduce friction. If you haven't yet listened to that episode where I interviewed Roger Dooley on his book, Friction, that's really helpful for you there. And I know we've talked about value a little bit already. And to tack on to this, Samuel Salzer of Habit Weekly, who I interviewed on episode 90, asked for any insights on how to set up a good value proposition, long-term value of subscribing, and strategies for conversions. And he said, for example, what does the perfect sign-up page look like? Also, what creates an ethical sign-up? I often see free trials that become a super expensive yearly plan after 7 days unless you cancel, which seems very dishonest, dark pattern-y. How can we build trust and loyalty from the start? I completely agree with that, Samuel. And this is why I recommend starting from the viewpoint of the end user. What do they want and what will be of great value for them? Once you've identified that, putting together an offering is much easier. And this is very much the begin with the end in mind setup. Instead of creating an offering that seems like the best fit and offer for your business and then finding a way to sell it to people, start with what they want and find how that can be done by your business and if it's actually a fit for you. And I agree, those 7-day free trials can often feel like a money grab, especially when they're locking you into a longer term subscription, like a full year. However, trial periods are really helpful in letting people see the value of the offering, so they can be useful. It's just about walking the line and knowing why you're putting it together. If the hope is that you will trick people into forgetting to cancel the subscription and snag a few bucks before they leave, get a new model. If instead you want to let them see if it's a fit and feel they will be impressed and absolutely want to stay, then it can be good. Many of the streaming systems I've already mentioned in the episode, Netflix and Hulu, offer free trial periods, and it doesn't feel icky when it charges you. But again, it's because their value proposition is clear. This is just the try it nudge people need to make it feel like it's worth checking out instead of a sleazy tactic to trick people. And similar to the answers about the type of businesses that it's for or not, there isn't really a perfect way to set up a specific landing page or on the website. And I do walk through these a lot with members of the Be Thoughtful Revolution. So for anybody who wants to be going through these specifically and having me give feedback on yours, please do go to thebrainybusiness.com or check out the show notes for the episode to see more about setting up a strategy session with me or something like that to really dig in, because it is one by one, case by case basis for your business to say whether the chart works better than the long form and how you work them in. But in general, my advice would be there's some benefit to a long form sales page, incorporating charts, incorporating your social proof from people that are in the space already, and understanding how you're factoring in the anchoring and relativity, like I was explaining throughout the episode. So the way you put the annualized price first or later on, and I'll give another example of that here in a minute, can have an impact on what feels like the best option and what feels like a worse option. Hugo Gatsby, who commented on LinkedIn, made some great points about how he starts from UX design approaches and got into this really important piece about a question he hears a lot, which is how can we reach everybody? Which always leads him, he said, to select a few behavioral profiles. And that he once had a client say they wanted to be on the top of Google when people searched for the word pizza. And when he showed them the cost it would take for that, they quickly changed their mind. And so this gets to another important point before I swing back around to the value question from Thomas and Samuel. I tell clients all the time that not everyone is your customer. You cannot be creating something for everyone and expect to be successful. There is a target market you are speaking to, and you need to narrow down who your launch is for. For most companies, there are still plenty of people that fit that niche to keep you in a space of thriving. Look at how many people you want to have participate, what you can handle and actually onboard, and it will make it clear that the idea of everyone doesn't even make sense anyway. Going back to the writing club, if we go to the extreme side of the goal list, it was only looking to have 500 people sign up. If you try and target every person in the world who wants to write a book, it would be far too many. And when it's too vague, it isn't interesting to those who would benefit. Yes, you want people who are looking to write a book, but you can narrow it down further from there. Fiction or nonfiction, a specific style or category, first book, or only established authors, or both. Do they live in a certain area? When you determine you're only looking for entrepreneurs looking to write their first nonfiction book to establish thought leadership in marketing and business in the United States or Canada, it's much easier for someone to say, hey, they get me, and self-select you. Narrowing down your scope makes it easier for people to find you, know you're a fit for them, and have confidence in your offer. And that gets back to the value question as well. When you've narrowed down who you're speaking to, it's easier to frame a message to fit them. And framing is a really key concept here. You also want to incorporate priming, anchoring, and relativity, all past episodes, which are linked for you in the show notes. And for all those members of the Be Thoughtful Revolution listening, or those who've already purchased the pricing course from the Brainy Business, those modules and worksheets are 100% applicable here. Now, I'm going to answer Samuel and Thomas's value questions through a complimentary question and an example that was posted by Karen Higgs in Uruguay, who asked a question on Facebook about how to present the costs of her premium best package strategically. She said it's basically a retainer, but talked about like a subscription. It's $199 to sign up, and then people can decide if they want to go monthly or prepay for an annual subscription. She's wanting to promote the annual subscription, so there is a 30% discount on them. I'm not even going to talk about what she's offering here because it doesn't matter. The principles apply regardless of the product or service being discussed. The first step, which she's already done, is to know what you want to nudge people toward, what the best offer is for your business. In some, like Karen's, it will be the annual subscriptions. Others may want monthly payments. Either's fine. You just need to know what fits your business's needs. If I was presenting this and promoting the annual option, I would say, it's $199 to get started and then only $69 a month. And most clients opt for the annualized option so they can save 30%. Would you like to move forward with that as well? Or you could say it's $199 to get started and then only $69 a month. Would you be interested in learning on how you can save 30%? Or you could reframe the offer entirely and look at the total dollar amount saved to find ways to talk about it other than a percentage. So instead of saying, you can save 30%, you can look at the total amount saved, which is $252 over the year. So you could instead say, it's $199 to get started and then only $69 per month, which can be done in one annual payment. Most clients opt for that because it waives that $199 setup fee and you get a month free. Would you like to move forward with that? For contrast, if you want people to go with the monthly payment option because it's more total and you don't care about getting money up front, you could say, it's $199 to get started and then only $69 a month. Would you like to get started today? You don't even have to bring up the annual option up front. That can be more in your back pocket if they hesitate over the cost. You could also say it's $778 total if you want to prepay for the entire year up front. Or if you prefer to make monthly payments, there would be $268 due today, and then it's only $69 a month. As you can see, there are lots of different ways to frame your message and help it showcase what's the best fit for your business. Try to think outside the box, like I did with the waiving the setup fee on the annualized option. The payment is the same either way, so it's easy to call it out that way and might be more appealing to people as a tangible benefit to the annual option. It's a great opportunity to test and see what works. Commit to a certain time frame or number of sales in each style to gather data and get a groove if you are going to be testing things, though. Don't try to do one and then another and jump back and forth. The free worksheet from episode 16 on framing will help you walk through some of the options for your business and how to talk about those options. And you can also check out the episode on setting up your own experiments, which is, of course, linked for you in the show notes. Tori Levine, who's also a member of the Be Thoughtful Revolution, asked a related question of whether it should be priced as monthly, quarterly, yearly, or lifetime, and which to recommend people to move toward. As I've shown in that past example, you can do whichever makes sense for your business, so there's no only way to price. However, as Tori pointed out in her full question, which said, I believe I remember in a podcast episode, you said to only offer 2 options. And yes, in this case, you should go with 2 options max, as having lots is going to be overwhelming. I generally recommend doing the monthly payments because it helps be a habit of a smaller amount that just comes out of your account, whereas setting up an annual payment, let's say, makes it so a year from now, when it's time to re-up, it's a bigger investment to make and pay. And that's a time where the conscious brain is going to say, do I really need this? When it's a monthly payment, the individual is able to get the value as those payments are made in smaller doses. It's constantly revalidating itself versus needing to help the conscious brain justify a really big amount once a year where you could lose people. Someone in the Be Thoughtful Revolution mentioned a group she was in that's $250 a month. And if you prepay for the year, you get 2 months free, so it's $2,500. If you have a model like this, just know you really need to be providing value through the year to make people not question re-ups, which you should be aiming for anyway. But know that around that payment coming due time, it's especially important. Across the board, aim to make it so the content exceeds what's promised and people don't even think about leaving. But if you do have that annual option, know that it's important to really be thoughtful about the value people are getting right around that time. That being said, every group has turnover, and that's okay. You don't want to take that personally when it happens to you if you have a subscription or a membership group. But if you can make it so there's so much value compared to the amount that's paid that they can't justify in their brain leaving, that's really the sweet spot and what you're targeting and looking for as you set these up. For example, in setting up the Be Thoughtful Revolution, you get all the courses from the Brainy business for free when you're a member. There are 3 of them now, and they're $400 each. So that's $1,200 in value right there. Plus, members get 20% off strategy sessions and other discounts. And there's a Facebook group where people can ask me questions. And I have a weekly call that I go live and train with the group for an hour, like I said, every single week. And all those replays are available for people to use. And it's my goal to make it so just the time I'm there with the group in those weekly interactions and through Facebook, that access to me is worth the $99 a month. That it's easy to say, heck yeah, this group is awesome. We actually just had a call today and we're working on our next 90-day sprint for accomplishing goals and getting things done. And as we were wrapping up, one member had said in the comments that this was one of her favorite parts of her entire week every week, being on those 1-hour calls and making progress in her business. And how great is that, really? I mean, that's the whole point, that everybody who's there loves to be there and they want to stay. And that's why actually in my group, there isn't any sort of mandatory minimum commitment. It's not that you have to sign up for 6 months or a year that you might get somewhere else. And it's because I only want people in the group that really want to be there and that are getting value out of it. And if it's not providing value, then it doesn't need to be there. For the Be Thoughtful Revolution, I've purposely built this out to make it easy for small businesses who are going to do a lot of work on their own and don't necessarily want to hire me for a lot of one-on-one time to free up my time to work on larger corporate projects, that these folks are still able to get access to me. They're able to get advice. They're able to move forward in their business and know how to incorporate behavioral economics, but not have it break the budget. So for those who are entrepreneurs or small businesses, they have this option. And if they were considering strategy sessions and might have needed tons of my time, now they can do a lot of that themselves through the courses and things in the group. It's a really great option. And if they were considering strategy sessions, it's a great value. If they were looking at buying a course, it's a great value. If they just wanted time with me, it's a great value. So no matter what angle you approach it from, it's an easy conversation and value point for the person that's interested and that it's a fit for. All right. We're getting a bit long in the episode, so I want to answer one last question. This one is from Brenda Reese, who is also a member of the Be Thoughtful Revolution. She asked, when is a good time to start a membership? Is it best to build up a following first? And as with most things, I have to say that it depends. However, it's definitely easier to sell things when you have a solid email list, which is why I did an episode on lead magnets just a couple weeks ago. And if you do need help with yours, that is one of the courses that is exclusive to members of the Be Thoughtful Revolution right now. So you can't buy that. You have to be in the group to get access to that. Having a list means you have people that get what you do, and it's easier to talk to them about these offers that you're providing. However, do know that the conversion rate is still not what any of us would like for it to be. For every 100 people on your list, you can expect that 1 or 2 are going to buy what you're selling if you're putting out free tidbits and things in a newsletter or something like that. If you don't have a following yet, say you're just launching a business because you lost your job during COVID or want a big change, then you can definitely still launch with a membership model even if you don't have a following. Just know that it'll take more time to be selling people on the model, and you want to incorporate a good lead magnet and other marketing that can concurrently be bringing people to you. Having a thing people who love your content can buy to get more is a great thing, and you shouldn't let a small list or following stop you from launching your subscription model or membership group. This is a total chicken or egg scenario that your brain can set up to keep you stuck or help you grow. The common brain pattern is, until I get a following, I can't create an offer, and I can't build a following until I have something to sell them, and you stay stuck. The flip of this is to say, I can build an offer that people will want, and talking about it will make them want to follow me. And as I grow my following, the offer can evolve. It's all in the mindset. And my advice is, once you've done some prep work to find out what your niche will want, just go for it. Build it, pick a model, choose your pricing, and sell it. Have your goals and numbers in mind to know where your break even and stretch points are, but create that content and make it happen. Again, there are tons and tons of links for you in the show notes, including those to join the Be Thoughtful Revolution if you find yourself wanting help on your lead magnet and setting up your subscription or membership and all sorts of other things. The Be Thoughtful Revolution now has members on 3 continents, and it's just an amazing group. And because you're a loyal listener, you can use the code BRAINY at checkout to save 10%. Of course, that information is for you in the show notes for this episode at thebrainybusiness.com/105. And if you have questions about anything, do feel free to send me an email to melina@thebrainybusiness.com, as I'm always happy to help. I look forward to seeing you in the Be Thoughtful Revolution and on social media very soon. And just like that, episode 105 on subscriptions and memberships is done. Next week is episode 106, and we're going to be getting back to our roots with an all-new Behavioral Economics Foundations episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss it. Until then, thanks again for listening and learning with me. And remember to be thoughtful.
Thank you for listening to the Brainy Business Podcast. Melina offers virtual strategy sessions, workshops, and other services to help businesses be more brain-friendly. For more free resources, visit thebrainybusiness.com.